Today we are going to tell a story about Cinderella.
Let's listen to the fairy tale of Cinderella. Once upon a time, a girl named Cinderella lived with her stepmother and two stepsisters. Poor Cinderella had to work hard all day long so the others could rest. It was she who had to wake up each morning when it was still dark and cold to start the fire. It was she who cooked the meals. It was she who kept the fire going. The poor girl could not stay clean from all the ashes and cinders by the fire. One day, a big news came to town. The king and queen were going to have a ball. It was time for the prince to find a bride. All the young ladies in the land were invited to come. They were wild with joy. They would wear their most beautiful gown and fix their hair extra nice. Maybe the prince would like them. At Cinderella's house, she now had extra work to do. She had to make two brand new gowns for her stepsisters. Cinderella said,
When will I have time to make my own dress for the ball?
the stepmother yelled at her.
Who said you were going to the ball?
All of them laughed at Cinderella.
Such a mess!
Cinderella said to herself.
And if I could, I would go to the ball.
Soon the time came for the stepmother and stepsisters to leave for the big party. Their fine carriage came to the door. They hopped inside. And they were off without Cinderella. Cinderella said sadly.
Who, me?
She said aloud.
I wish I could go to the ball too.
All of a sudden, in front of her was a fairy. The fairy said.
You called?
Cinderella said.
Did I? Who are you?
The fairy replied.
I am your fairy godmother. I know your wish and I have come to grant it. Well, I think you know you have to go to the ball too.
Cinderella looked down at her dirty clothes. Cinderella said.
But look at me.
The fairy replied.
Dear me, all of that is possible.
With that, she tapped her wand on Cinderella's head. At once, Cinderella was all clean. She was dressed in a beautiful blue gown. Her hair was set up high on her head inside a golden band. Cinderella said.
This is wonderful.
Fairy tapped her wand again. At once, a beautiful carriage came to be with a driver and 4 white horses. Cinderella looking around and said.
Am I dreaming?
The fairy godmother said.
But there is one thing you must know. All of this lasts only to midnight. Tonight, at the stroke of midnight, it will all be over. Everything will go back to how it was before.
Cinderella then replied.
Then I must be sure to leave the ball before midnight?
She stepped into the carriage and they were off. Over at the ball, when Cinderella arrived, someone pointed to the front door by saying, Cinderella!
Look, who is that?
All others turned and they said to themselves.
Who is that lovely maiden stepping down the stairs?
She held her head tall and looked as if she belonged, but no one knew her. The prince said to himself, There is something about her. I will ask her to dance with me. And he walked over to Cinderella. The prince said, Have we met? The Cinderella said.
I am pleased to meet you now.
The prince felt a leap in his heart. He and Cinderella danced. When the song was over, they danced again. And when again and again they danced. Soon the other maidens at the ball grew jealous. They said,
Why is he dancing all the time with her?
But all Prince could see was Cinderella. They laughed, talked, and they danced some more. Suddenly the clock rang. Cinderella looked up. She looked up again. She cried out.
Oh, it is almost midnight.
Cinderella said.
I must go.
She ran to the steps. Her one glass slipper fell off her foot on the stair, but she rushed out of the door. Prince picked up her glass slipper and rushed out of the door. He saw that it was made in a special way to fit a foot like none other. Somewhere there is the other glass slipper, he said. And when I find it, I will find her too. Then I will ask her to be my bride. From hut to hut, from house to house, went the prince, but none could fit the slipper. And soon the prince moved on. At last the prince came to Cinderella's house. The prince knocked. The stepmother flew open the door. She said,
Come in. I have 2 lovely daughters for you to see.
The stepsisters tried to fit her foot inside. They tried and tried with all their might too, but no luck. Then Cinderella suddenly stepping into the room.
Maybe there is one more.
The prince said to the stepmother, I thought you said there were no other young women here. The stepmother said in a hiss.
None who matter.
The prince said, come here. Cinderella stepped up to him. The prince got down on one knee and tried the glass slipper on her foot. It fit perfectly. Then from her pocket, Cinderella took out something. It was the other glass slipper. He cried, I knew it! You are the one! The stepmother yelled.
This cannot be.
But it was too late. The prince knew that Cinderella was the one. He looked into her eyes. He did not see the cinders in her hair or the ashes on her face. He said, I have found you. And so Cinderella and Prince were married. And they lived happily ever. In the story of Cinderella, you have seen Cinderella, who is pure in heart, has gone through many struggles. And finally she has joined to the prince. Similarly, many people in this world who are pure in heart will go through many struggles, but finally they will meet their Prince of Peace. Who is the Prince of Peace? Their bridegroom. It is Jesus. Yes, Jesus wants each one of us to become his bride, like the story of Cinderella.
Matthew 5:8 says, Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. God bless you all.